Welcome back to Bold of You to Say. We're back with another episode. This week, I ranted about the Purge.
The Purge, ooh.
We talked about the MCU and some of our issues with the finer details of it. Talked about Batman and why he shouldn't, carry nukes and use surveillance equipment. If you want to, boil it down to the essence of the conversation. We talked about Spider-Man No Way Home and how it's just sort of coming together to sound like a fan fiction. We talked about, of course, the infamous leaked CW Powerpuff Girls script.
It's still crazy it got as far as it did.
Yeah. Timestamps will be listed out in the description if you want to skip a certain part or if you just can't wait to get to a certain part. Follow us on social media. That's all linked down below. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. Follow Jared on Twitter, friend him on Steam and or Xbox.
Yeah, come on, it's game.
Share the show with a friend. Tweet out our episodes. Tweet out our clips. Our clips channel will be linked down below. And subscribe so you don't miss next week's episode. And let's just jump into it. I thought of this the other day when I was thinking back on the MCU. Oh yeah, Black Widow was an Avenger. And post Civil War, obviously, Sam and Steve were working together. But there was also this third member there. Oh yeah, it was Black Widow. Who never gets talked about past Endgame. Unless you're watching the Black Widow trailer, nothing references her.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
You would think during Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Sam would be like, oh yeah, this reminds me of that time that I was talking to Steve. And also, oh yeah, Nat was there. The person that I spent 2 years fighting crime with. Not even counting being on the Avengers. Post Civil War, we were in a trio together. Nope. She's gotten completely sidelined.
It is very weird that she's just disappeared from everyone's minds.
Yeah, and it's like that meme that I don't know if you retweeted this or where I saw it, but it was like the funeral that that Black Widow gets. I don't remember how it was worded, but it was basically like the funeral that Black Widow gets, and it's like a few people being sad by the water, and then the funeral that the guy that signs your paycheck gets. And then it's Iron Man's big funeral with every single MCU character there.
Yeah. God, when you start pointing out all these things in Endgame, it makes me realize just how weird of a movie it actually is.
Yeah.
It's like it has so much stuff in it that you think they're gonna do good things with, but then it all just comes out kind of this weird sludge.
Yeah, and it was a good it was a really good conclusion in a lot of ways, but also in a lot of ways
a really bad one.
Shit, my mom's calling. She always calls when I'm doing the podcast. Just a second.
Oh, is it a Jerry's Corner?
Yeah.
Oh shit. Fuck yeah, I'll go get the Duplos. So on this episode of Jerry's Corner, it's long overdue. I'm going to eat an aluminum can. I cannot eat an aluminum can as my teeth are all rounded. Damn. Defeated again. Anyways, listeners, I've been working on my painting techniques a bit more. I have none. Anyways, all my stuff is still coming out pretty alright. It's not terrible, but I mean, they look like what they're supposed to. Also did decals for the first time. Fuck decals, man. Those things, I don't know if it's because of how small they were, because mine were pretty small because they're for minis and shit. But, pardon me, those things just don't want to stick on for shit. Had to apply so much stuff all over it. Wound up having stuff that looked kind of weird, you get the gist of it. Little munchkins, you. Now, that being said, if any of you guys are actually midgets, I apologize for using such hard-handed slurs. However, is it true that you guys get mad when you're called midgets and stuff? Like, I just want to know if that's true. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna make fun of you or anything, but I just really want to know, is it a slur to call little people midgets? Because, like, there's that John Mulaney joke where he's like, haha, midget is the N-word to little people. And he's like, no, it's not, because one of those words you just said. And it's like, I don't know. I don't know any midgets. The last one I knew actually got a height growth thing. He got big all of a sudden. He's like bigger than me, and it's weird and gross, and his bones make disgusting noises when they move. But point is it racist to call little people midgets? Also, is a midget a race too? Can it be? Can we just like sub-race people? Like just kind of like there's white, black, and all that stuff, but then there's like the sub tiers. There's like tall white or like midget black, you know? Like, can we start doing that? Make it like a fucking D&D class system? You know what? I think there's a lot of stools out there that could be replaced with small people, and I don't think any of us tall chads would notice. But then again, like, what if you're too tall? What if like a tall person and a really small person got together, they hooked up? Like how would that relationship work? It's like, what if the tall person was like a bottom also? So like the really small person.
I don't know.
Oh, hey, welcome back. I was consulting the audience about whether or not it's racist to use the phrase midget, as I've said midget 10 times in the last 5 seconds.
Well, it's like that John Mulaney quote.
I also quoted that, but then again, I also said I don't know if I know any midgets to ask.
Yeah, I do. I mean, even if they do get offended, what are they gonna do?
Call the short. There'll be a tiny riot outside our offices.
Adorable.
Adorable.
What are they gonna do? Stack themselves in a trench coat and kick your ass?
Alex, I'm just saying, think about what happened to the Empire in episode 6.
Good point.
I am an ATST compared to a midget. They will fucking dome me with some logs.
They'll tie up your legs.
They'll tie. Like it'll be like Gulliver's Travels. They'll tie me to the ground. When I reveal I'm peaceful, they'll name me their king.
God. Anyway, what was I saying before? Something about Black Widow being sidelined. We were talking about Endgame.
Yeah, it was like Endgame is both a good and a bad conclusion, because you get like it's a good conclusion to like Iron Man stuff, but then everyone else who died gets like shit. They get nothing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, Black Widow died? Who was that again? I'm sorry, Tony Stank died.
Yeah, well, that's also why I think generally the MCU works better as an interconnected set of like seasons of television. Like if there was like if like Captain America the Winter Soldier was a season of television, I generally think it would be better than the movie was. Generally speaking, of course, it does come down to, who's writing it and are they going to put in a bunch of filler? But generally speaking, I think that and like the Civil War story, of course, since Civil War was a long-running comic arc, I think that would work really well as a season of television, because you get more, I guess, build up to it. You get more, fleshing out of the narrative.
Yeah.
Because that's an issue that I've had with the MCU, since I got into it, whatever number of years ago. It just all feels like it goes by so fast.
Yeah.
Like it feels like 2 years of comics gets condensed into a 2-hour movie, which I don't mind. I don't mind that, but it just feels like it doesn't have enough time to breathe.
shit, dog. That's like half the movies they make. Fucking like how many like Spider-Man movies are just like 7 different issues rolled into one.
Yeah. That's why I like superhero like TV shows better. Like Invincible. Invincible is really good. I don't know how good of a movie it would be. I'm sure it would be at least fine. But being a TV show, you get so much more room to breathe and so much more room for character development.
If Invincible was a movie over a TV show, they remove probably all of the Mahler twins and robots story arcs.
Yeah, and that was some of my favorite stuff.
Mahler twins are the best. They're my fucking favorite character.
Yeah, and I just feel like superhero stuff, like, and any of the Marvel stuff needs a lot more room. Like Daredevil is, it's one of the most popular MCU properties, whether or not you want to consider it part of the MCU. It's kind of up in the air. I've been hearing that he's going to be in No Way Home, which I've been hearing everyone's in No Way Home, but yeah, like Daredevil is such a good show because you get room for character development and characterization. Not that there isn't any in the movies, but I mean, compare the Daredevil movie to the Daredevil TV show.
Yeah, no, that's completely different.
Yeah.
No, I think there's anything wrong with it. It's just, it's
yeah. Compare the two. The movie's so much better.
Yeah. Now, I loved that movie as a kid, but like as an adult, I can recognize that it's not as good.
I haven't seen it yet, and I'm afraid to.
It's kind of boring. I'm not gonna lie. Like they have Daredevil beat all of his villains in one whole movie.
Yeah, I have this idea in my head of it being like so bad it's good. It's weird, laughably terrible, but it's probably just boring.
Okay, you know how Scott Pilgrim versus the World, he fights multiple villains in it, and it's like a tier system?
Oh, and it's really well done and well written?
Yeah, it's like that, except you remove the last thing you said.
Oh, okay.
It's like he fights Elektra, and then like they fall in love, and they're like, oh, okay, now we're gonna have to kill Bullseye. So then he goes and he fights Bullseye, and he's like, I work for Kingpin. And then he goes and fights Kingpin, and then he's defeated all of the crime in New York, and then that's it.
And it also doesn't help that
or anything.
It also doesn't help that all of the action sequences look like PS2 cutscenes.
That, and also his echolocation stuff. They did a cool thing where they showed it, but it's like really weird, like graphic shit. Like
Arkham Detective Vision.
Kinda. Like, I don't know if you've seen RoboCop 2, but to the people who have, it looks a lot like what RoboCane's face looks like. Like that, but it's sound waves. It's weird looking.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at pictures of it.
Yeah. It's just like a black void with like this weird blue thing. And that's
it kind of reminds me of like in The Dark Knight when Batman casually uses a mass surveillance system to rival the NSA, and it has that like sonar kind of look to it.
Yeah. Batman gets away with a lot of like really illegal shit.
Yeah.
Like, I get that like the cops are like, oh, it's Batman, we go after him now, and then they're like, oh, Batman, he's helping us. But it's like, yeah, but like, what if one day he stops doing that?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this man literally keeps track of everyone. He knows Gordon's home address, where his family lives, and everything. I probably shouldn't put any tabs on that. It's the Batman. What's he gonna do?
Yeah, I was watching this Vosh clip where he breaks down why like the Dark Knight movies are like, I forget what he described them as, but I think he called them like fascist or something, and basically breaking down like why it's bad to idolize someone that like breaches personal rights to the extent that Batman does.
Yeah,
and it's a pretty good breakdown, but
See, so I liked it when Batman's gadgets were just like Arkham City gadgets, except for like the, I want to cripple you for life Batmobile.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, like detective vision and shit like that makes sense. Having a spy network where he can just monitor everyone's phone calls and shit. I don't know about you, but I don't like Big Brother being a fucking rich old man in a fursuit. Actually, he's not even that old. He's like 40, isn't he? A rich middle-aged man in a fursuit. I'd rather that not be what Big Brother is. Like, if we're gonna have it, I'd rather it be something a little bit more stable.
Yeah, Batman movies really, and I've talked about this on the show before, but Batman movies really need to reverse the direction that they're going in, where it's getting progressively darker, progressively grittier, progressively more like fascist apologetic-y.
Yeah.
Where it's like this cool billionaire that's totally awesome uses mass surveillance and can kill anyone at any moment. Isn't that so awesome? Like, I feel like Batman really needs to go back to basics, be maybe a bit goofier. I've talked about that before, but he needs to really, like, the character needs to be rolled back in terms of like the power level that he's at. Like right now, Batman in the comics and the movies, he's this like all-powerful billionaire who's just a guy, but he also has the power of a god because of the level of technology that he has access to.
Yeah, it's kind of fucky when you think about it.
It should be more similar to, in Iron Man 3 when Tony he doesn't have access to the suit or anything. He's stranded, but he needs to take down AIM. So he goes to a hardware store and just picks up stuff and makes makeshift weapons with it. I feel like that's the kind of vibe that Batman should be. It's not, it shouldn't be like, this is my Wayne Tech nuke that I'm going to use on a mugger. It should be like, this is a gadget that, it should be more like, instead of this is a gadget that solves crime for me, it should be this is a gadget that I use along with, mostly my detective work and my hand-to-hand combat skills to solve crimes.
Yeah. Batman's gadgets quickly went from oh, this is something he uses to trip up muggers and stuff, to I've devised a weapon that injects poisons into your blood vein, into your veins, that will cause your entire body to act like it's paralyzed. That way I can then transport you to my secluded lair where I'll pummel information out of you.
Yeah, I really hope that
the CIA, but they don't kill you afterwards.
God, I really hope that the new Batman movie, Rob Bat and Bat,
oh my God,
leans more into detective side. Yeah,
I hope so too.
He needs to be the world's greatest detective, not some bat
He's just a
dressed ninja that dabbles in solving a riddle or two here and there.
Batman's current detective skills is the same detective skills utilized in Guantanamo Bay. He doesn't investigate a crime scene. It's the bullet trajectory is off and stuff. He goes to a crime scene, finds a guy, and then breaks his jaw until he gets the right answer.
Yeah, well,
and
it's that, and
that's not detective work.
It's that, and he also has a hologram that reconstructs the crime scene for him, and he just notices a detail here and there, and it's oh, I guess this is where the guy went because the hologram said.
I don't like Batman because he's just a Mary Sue, but as
don't
a superhero.
Fuck with us, Batman fans. We hate Batman.
Look, I'm gonna be honest with you, when Batman started off, I liked him because of Justice League, the old cartoon, not the Zack Snyder movies. My God,
when Batman started off in 1935, I was a fan of him then.
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, he was good back then. He was a good guy. Now he's just kind of... Batman gives me, violent incel energies.
No, I really do want, for real, though, I do want... and I'm sure the Rob Bat and Bat won't do this, but I want a Batman movie that is like a period piece set when Batman came out, you know, and it's true to the era, and it's, you know, like I'm just a guy with, you know, technology of the time solving mysteries, because that is more interesting. It is more interesting to be limited by old-timey technology and have to like skillfully solve crimes rather than this is my bat nuke that I use to beat up thugs, and this is my bat tells me what happened here gadget.
Batman holds someone at gunpoint. Tell me all the information you know. Doesn't shoot the guy. However, he'll get his information and he'll call himself the greatest negotiator.
Yeah. Well, someone read Art of the Deal.
I got out of that situation with more information than the other guy. I am the best negotiator. All it cost was his kneecaps.
God.
Batman's, again, his detective work is just horrible. It's like, no wonder all the cops in that universe hate him. He's literally just going around crippling people and then calling himself a better detective than the cops who are doing like actual detective work. Like, they gotta like try and pinpoint where the bullet came from. Batman just like makes a guess and then cripples an entire group of single fathers.
Yeah, basically. It's like, how did you come to this conclusion? You know, I'm Batman.
I found some hobos in the streets and I got lucky this time. Turns out one of them had a gun.
It's kind of like the Guy Ritchie Sherlock Holmes movies. They're not quite that bad, but it does kind of lean in that direction. But it's okay because it's kind of like the style, whatever.
Yeah.
You know those movies, right? The ones with Robert Downey Jr. Yeah.
The ones that are somehow weirdly more accurate to Sherlock Holmes' like character also. Like, this is
I will say
weird
that
thing.
Absolutely.
Because like in the books that the Sherlock Holmes books, he's not a normal human being. And it's not like he's like super smart. There's a fucking part where it's from Watson's perspective where he's describing how Sherlock fucking lifts and flings a car over his head. And it's like, why did no one mention that? You know? I just feel like we're missing something.
Another thing is he is also like just a guy. And I feel like the Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock, as much as I like that adaptation, it does really like deify his like intellect, because like Sherlock Holmes in the books is a smart guy for sure, but he is a guy.
Yeah,
like he's just a person.
He's not a person. I refuse to believe Sherlock Holmes is in any shape not an eldritch monster, because there's so many weird things he does in those books. There's a part where he reads Moriarty's brain. He reads someone's mind at one point. And I don't understand how.
All right, look. Aside from that,
he isn't human.
Anyway.
Yeah, as you were saying. The lanky Sherlock is weird because he's like really smart, but it's like too smart.
They really leaned into it in season 4. Because I don't think you haven't seen any of it, have you?
I saw the first episode and it wasn't really my cup of tea. I'm gonna be honest with you. It just reminded me too much of like the r/I'm very smart Reddit.
That's absolutely fair.
It's just like, oh, they're all assholes. Okay.
Yeah. So everything that you don't like about that is amplified so much in season 4.
Oh God.
So, like, spoilers ahead, if you care about season 4 of Sherlock being spoiled, if you're gonna watch it, but you haven't yet, sort out your priorities, but yeah, skip to the next timestamp if you don't want to hear it. But, so in season 4, there's a new character introduced that is the sister of Sherlock and Mycroft Holmes.
Okay.
This is not just a retcon. This is also news to Sherlock.
Okay. Oh, he has a sister. I have a sister now.
So she was. So, okay. So, you know how in the show Sherlock has all these like mind powers and you can like do 5D chess with people and like fuck them up mentally?
Oh, yeah.
So Sherlock's sister is that turned up to an 11.
Oh, fuck.
And she also is like, she has a similar vibe actually to the girl from Orphan, which is an all right movie. But like, so to illustrate my point, Sherlock had this dog that he has flashbacks to throughout the series that he loved very much, that died, and it was like a source of trauma for him. And he did all kinds of adventures with this dog. This dog was his best friend. And, you know, of course, Sherlock is sad about that dog's death. Now, when I say that dog is Sherlock's best friend, I mean that dog was literally Sherlock Holmes's best friend that he repressed the memory of and remembered as a dog.
Oh, what?
His sister killed his best friend.
What?
And to cope with that, after his sister was sent away because, you know, she killed a person and is mentally dangerous, Sherlock, as a coping mechanism, chose to remember that best friend as a dog and chose to completely not remember his sister one bit. She is completely retconned out of his memories.
Imagine you hanging out with your
That
best
is
friend.
the choice. That is the writing choice that they made for that season.
Imagine if you hang out with your best friend and his sister breaks into your guys' house and she kills you. And then for the rest of your friend's life, he only remembers you as a fucking furry and he forgets that your murder ever happened.
So part of
that is
another
what
part of
happened
that
to that poor son of a bitch.
Another part of the season that makes no sense, showing her mental prowess. So you know she's kept in
so
this like
she's supposed
glass...
to be a bad guy, or
yes, she is a bad guy.
Okay,
but by the end, it's like, oh, she's misunderstood, and she just needs.
She killed a guy.
Yes, she did.
This isn't like a Loki, he's a god. This is a human being killing another human being.
Yes, in cold blood. You're right.
This is worse.
Yeah, and her whole thing is like, I'm so smart and I see the world differently, so I can't connect with people.
Yeah,
so you know, I kill people.
That's what
and
the
that's
guy
how they
that
end
murdered
it. That's
his
how they
mom.
end it, and it's like, oh, she just needs a hug. But
that's. You know, that exact
anyway,
line is what the guy that murdered his mom and wore her face around the house said. He sees the world differently than everyone else. What the fuck?
Anyway, another part of the season that I don't like, to show her mental abilities. Part of it is she can like persuade people really well, kind of like Robert California from The Office, but like somehow crazier.
Oh no.
She'll like convince so she's kept in this, sorry to keep like backtracking, but she's kept in this like glass cell, kind of like Magneto. It's a similar setup, not like underground, but it's on an island. So she's kept in basically the raft, and she just convinces the guards to let her go. And by the way, at one point, to show how dangerous she is, because she is like a dangerous individual, like she'll like strangle people and shit. Sherlock is like visiting her, like, what did you do with it? Because he was also trying to like solve a crime that she was doing alongside Moriarty, who is dead at this point, but he's also committing crimes from beyond the grave because he has like contingency set up like Palpatine.
What?
Sherlock is talking to her and he's like, what did you do to them? And she's like, I'll never tell. And he's like, oh, whatever. What are you going to do behind that glass? And she's like, what glass? And she steps out. There was no glass. The glass was gone.
That's
and
not mental gymnastics. She
Holmes
just fucking
did not notice.
Hold on.
The guy whose whole deal is noticing things did not notice there was no glass, a highly reflective substance, between him and a psychopathic murderer with his powers to a greater degree.
Okay, so like, are they magical in this version? Or is it like every other version where they keep neglecting the whole Sherlock Holmes is a weird magic man thing?
It's, okay, in universe, it's not like magic.
They just really smart. Why the hell are they taking greater lengths on this one person who killed one guy than they did Magneto, the master of magnetism? Because she talks good?
Yeah, I guess.
Just gag her. Just like,
yeah,
put the Hannibal Lecter shit on her, you know?
Yeah, she is really similar to Hannibal Lecter, actually, now that you mention it.
She eats a guy's brain?
She does everything but that.
Oh. She stalks an FBI agent?
Look, you know what I'm saying.
I know.
Anyway, I guess my conclusion for this line of thought is that the Guy Ritchie Sherlock Holmes movies are insane in terms of like mental ability and stuff.
And that's
they're
why
accurate for the books.
Accurate.
They're accurate for the books for sure. But in that being like Sherlock mind powers are magic or whatever, it's not the most extreme example, surprisingly enough. You'd think it would be, but it's not.
There's a part in the books where John, I forgot his last name already, Watson, when Watson and Sherlock are going through an alleyway, 3 burly men come out of nowhere. Watson is watching Sherlock like talk them down, turns around, looks back. All 3 of them are down on the ground, and he can't tell if they're still breathing. Sherlock Holmes isn't just a smart guy. If he's human, he exceeds everything about being a human.
Look, to be fair about all that stuff, I'm not going to even touch him throwing a car.
Sherlock
I don't know
Holmes
the context. I don't know. Basically, it is possible.
They're trying to help someone from underneath it or something.
It is possible to like train your body and like learn martial arts that let you take down larger opponents using like gravity and stuff and whatever.
Read Moriarty's mind though. Like they were talking and then he started saying things he wasn't even speaking about.
Jared, they have a force dyad, all right?
I mean, I guess
it reminds me of my favorite part from the Guy Ritchie Sherlock Holmes movies. At the end of the second movie, at the end of the second movie, when it's like it's at the climax of the movie and the stakes are super high. It's like life and death. It's like represented by like a chess game that Sherlock and Moriarty are playing. And you know how throughout the series Sherlock does this like, okay, so this guy is going to do this, so I'm going to do this, and it like the scenario plays out in his head and then he does it, right?
Yeah.
And I think I've described this scene to you, but
doesn't like Moriarty do the same thing?
They are playing chess. He's like, all right, he's gonna do this, and then he notices like, oh, he's about to like attack me, so he's gonna do this. I'm gonna do this, and Moriarty. It cuts to a close up of Moriarty's face, and he's like, oh yeah. Well, I'm going to do this. And this is completely happening in their heads, in their minds. They are thinking, non-verbally thinking. All right, I'm going to do this. He's going to blow his pipe in my face. I'm going to grab his arm and I'm going to put him in a chokehold. I'm going to put pressure on his wound. And then Sherlock's like, fuck it. We're both going over the edge. And he flings himself and Moriarty over the balcony into this cliff/waterfall, and they're like punching each other while they're falling. And John looks down and he's like, "Oh my God, Sherlock is dead. He killed himself along with Moriarty to save me." He doesn't fly up, as funny as that would be. But at the end of the movie, it's all wrapping up. John is like writing out, this story, because that's how the narrative is told in the books. He writes the stories down, but
Yeah.
anyway, he's like, and Sherlock was the best man, the best friend that anyone could have ever asked for, and I will miss him dearly. The end. He walks out of the room. Sherlock is disguised as a chair in the background, and he's like, oh, that was close. That's how the movie ends. That is the end of the movie.
What?
So anyway, do you want to talk about Spider-Man No Way Home?
Chair?
Look, to be fair, it was set up earlier in the movie.
What then? If one of them would die, the other one would turn him into a chair?
No. It was set up earlier in the movie. I believe it was Sherlock's brother Mycroft that was like, hey, I have this disguise, or I think it was Sherlock. Anyway, he was like, it was part of a case. He was like, I am disguised as this chair, because he gets bored and he just does shit. He's like, I'm disguised as this chair and whatever, and it's kind of like a Chekhov's gun situation. But yeah, so
except the gun
he disguised
still
himself
makes
as
no sense.
Hey Morty, hey Morty, turn the chair around. I turned myself into a chair. I'm Chair Sherlock. Wouldn't it be so funny if Sherlock turned himself into a pickle?
I mean, it's not entirely outside of the realm of possibilities for this fucking character. He could probably do it.
Anyway,
What?
do you want to talk
I'm
about?
watching a GIF of it. Why is he a chair? Yeah, let's talk about Spider-Man No Way Home, where apparently everyone's gonna be in it, and also no one has directions.
Yeah,
We got fucking Doctor Strange, every Spider-Man, fucking Daredevil, the only one who has any reason not to know the directions because his eyes literally don't work. But I mean, I guess no one knows where they're going. That was a dumb joke, but
so I have been seeing a lot of news about Spider-Man No Way Home. Of course, we got the news that Alfred Molina was going to be coming back as Doc Ock. We've been hearing rumors that Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are going to be in it. Andrew Garfield was asked about it. He was like, are you going to be in it? And he was like, no. Why are you even asking that? Oh my God, why would you say that? So he said he's going to be in the movie, basically.
Yeah.
So now we're hearing that Sony is I believe they confirmed that they're setting up the Sinister Six, and instead of actually setting up the Sinister Six, introducing this is the Vulture, this is the Scorpion, this is whatever lineup you want to do. Instead of doing that, they're just going to take the villains from the old movies and just sort of put them together. So I am now seeing that Norman Osborn, the guy that died in the first Spider-Man movie, is going to be coming back as Green Goblin. Alfred Molina, of course, is going to be Doc Ock.
Jamie Foxx is coming
Jamie
back?
Foxx Jamie Foxx was confirmed a while ago to be coming back as Electro.
I have missed that.
The Lizard from The Amazing Spider-Man is going to be coming back.
What?
The Sandman from Spider-Man 3 will be coming back. Who else? Hold on, I let me look at the post that I sent you on Instagram.
Yeah, I don't know if that one's true. I think it's fan casting because I'm looking.
And it's gonna be Rhino from The Amazing Spider-Man 2, played by Paul Giamatti. And that's gonna be the Sinister Six. That is just a rumor that they're doing that, but it does seem like they're going in that direction, bringing back all these old characters.
The only confirmed cast that I get when I type in onto Google and shit is just everyone that's already been said they were coming in. Also, Hannibal Buress.
Yeah, he plays a teacher in the Spider-Man movies, the MCU Spider-Man movies.
I forgot about that. What the fuck is Hannibal doing in Spider-Man? Get back on the stage! What the hell? You don't belong here. But
it is my dream to someday be cast as a background character or like a side character for a Spider-Man movie.
It's my dream to have Eric Andre prank me. I want one of the worst nightmares for many people to become my reality.
But anyway, Spider-Man No Way Home, it seems like it's going to be like a fan fiction.
Look, I'm gonna say right now, with how everything has been set up leading up to it and how everyone's talking about it and what they're adding into it, I am 100% in full belief this is going to be another Spider-Man 3. Where there is so much stuff going on all at once that the movie is just going to fail.
Maybe. There is definitely a chance of that.
They have to do what sounds like they're going to be doing multiverse shit. So there's that they have to deal with. And they also have to deal with the whole, like, Mysterio thing at the very end of Far From Home. And there's just a lot of stuff they're going with.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like I have full, like, faith and trust in the writers at Marvel and Kevin Feige to, like, not let Sony fuck it up. But with how things are progressing, it does seem like it's going to be a difficult task to not fuck it up.
Sony might intentionally fuck it up so they can get the rights to Spider-Man back so they can start doing Venom Spider-Man movies.
God. No, Sony really wants to be in the MCU, so they are going to play ball. Like they've done like press releases that are like, "Oh yeah, you know, we love working with Marvel and the universe that they've crafted, and we just hope that, you know, we can work together." It's like they really are tired of having movies flop. They don't want another Spider-Man 3 or Amazing Spider-Man 2. Despite them continuing to want to create them, they don't want the financial fallout from movies like those.
However,
so they really want to be part of the MCU. They want Marvel to do a lot of the work with like setting stuff up.
They also really want Venom to be in the MCU and stuff like that. And
they
really
do
pushing it. But so here's my thought. What if they have this really convoluted plan where the idea is they're going to make a movie that's bad so they get the rights to Spider-Man back. And then the MCU is then Marvel's gonna be like, oh, we need Spider-Man again. Let's make a deal with Sony. To which Sony then presents to them an ultimatum. They can have Spider-Man back. However, they also need to take Venom with them. And now they'll have their boys in the MCU.
I don't understand what you just said.
I don't know either. But
wait,
trust
so
me.
hold on.
They're going to
hold on. Rather than continue this mutually lucrative business deal,
yeah.
You think Sony is going to invest money in a movie, make it purposefully fail, so Marvel doesn't want to touch Spider-Man anymore, and then Marvel will suddenly just let the deal go.
Yeah.
So Sony can come back and say, you can have Spider-Man, but you also have to take Venom too.
Yeah.
So
put them on like rent.
So instead of this again mutually lucrative business deal,
Alex,
you think Sony wants to just give away their most valuable IP?
Alex, did I stutter?
I guess you didn't.
My conspiracy theories will always be supreme.
God, there's never an accidentally bad movie with you, is there?
No.
It's always they planned it to be awful so they can lose a bunch of money and then hopefully make something better that makes a little bit more money.
I mean, to be fair, look at the
Halo, whatever Halo game I don't like, that was purposefully bad, so the next one looks better. So they're planning on losing a bunch of money and then making another game that people won't want to buy because they didn't like the last one. And then, but people will like it, and it'll make marginally more money.
I mean, to be fair, that's what Bungie did, and it also worked. So yeah,
maybe. To be fair, I am not at all a businessman. I know little to no information about finances. So
what the fuck is
I guess we're equally correct about this, aren't we?
Man, I just like eating money.
Anyway, Spider-Man No Way Home.
Just
I
bring
hope
him
it doesn't
back.
turn out. I hope it doesn't turn out like the not the Last Jedi, the Rise of Skywalker. I hope it doesn't turn out like those movies because, like, we talked about when Rise of Skywalker came out, how it felt like a fan fiction, and we talked about how it like didn't feel like a Star Wars movie. It felt like someone
sad.
trying to describe a Star Wars movie, but also they really want a bunch of fan service.
Yeah.
I hope Spider-Man No Way Home doesn't turn out like that. I trust that it won't, but I'm still like, I'm cautiously optimistic.
Part of me really wants it to turn out like that, just to see what dumpster fire we get.
Yeah, to be clear, if it's going to be bad, I don't want it to be like
bad.
Spider-Man 3. I don't want it to be like The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I want it to be the most fan servicey piece of garbage possible that just scratches every itch as a Spider-Man
want a
fan.
scene where all three Spider-Men fuck, and it's like graphic, and it's basically a Pornhub video, but it's all three movie Spider-Men, and like they're in costume still.
Yeah,
but they're fucking.
I want the movie to be just as fan servicey as possible. I want, you know how like The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was bad, but like the suit was awesome, and you could at least admire the suit while watching it. I want stuff like that, and I want as much of it as possible if it's not going to be good.
I want there to be a scene where Doc Ock just shits into his hands, smells it, then throws it at the wall.
I would pay $150 to see that.
Just like Doc, it's Alfred Molino's Doc Ock. He's like in an old dingy warehouse, just shitting into his hand, just and throws it at a wall.
Not even in costume either. He's wearing like the costume that you made for Comic-Con years ago.
Yes.
He's wearing that, or like the morph suit and everything.
Except it's like a hole
and it's
cut out, and he's just shitting into his hands.
He has like a cheap name tag. It's like, "Hello, I am Doc Ock."
Another thing, though, I want to add to this is that it's not any purpose he's doing it for. He does that, then immediately goes back to monologuing about his master plan with like the sun or whatever. So like him shitting into his hands had no bearing on the movie and is never brought up again. But I just want there to be a transition straight into that. His reaction of throwing it at the wall, then just coming over to Spider-Man being like, "Yes, this was my master plan all along. I'm going to blow up the sun."
Yeah, so anyway, Marvel, if you're listening, make it happen.
Give me a job. I will make all of your movies beautiful. I wanna have a show where we see Don Cheadle actually assassinate baby Thanos. War Machine walks into a crib and then just puts a claymore on it.
Yeah, so make it happen, Marvel. I know you're listening.
Yeah,
I know you listen. I know you follow us on Spotify. Make it happen.
Hear me out. Since since Pym particles and shit are no longer a scarce resource because the guy, he's back. That means War Machine can do that with like no repercussion. Just go through every timeline and assassinate baby Thanos. So I just want an hour-long montage of all the different ways he does it, and I just want it to end at the final part. He's like, he's just tired. He doesn't have any other ideas. He just walks in, just shoots the kid, and walks out. There's like no motivation behind it, no enthusiasm.
Okay,
He's
look,
just
as much as I
bored.
want to move on to the next segment, I will say this. Why is it always baby Hitler? Why is the question, would you go back in time and kill baby Hitler?
Because the idea is that babies aren't full of sin and are redeemable, but they're wrong.
Sure. Right. I understand
it's like Hitler
that.
is a horrible person, but would you kill a baby? To which my response is, would you not?
Okay, look, I understand
You've been
that.
on an airplane before, right?
Look, a lot of people, I'm going to say this, and then we're going to move on to the next segment. I'm going to say this. A lot of people take issue with killing babies. I know, hard to believe.
Very hard.
So why is the question, would you kill baby Hitler? Because there's no easy answer with that.
Yes, there is.
Now, would you kill, like 16-year-old going through his like emo phase, rude to his parents, going down the alt-right pipeline Hitler?
No, I'd molest him.
That wasn't the question.
I know that wasn't the question, but that's the answer you get. I would molest adolescent Hitler. Because if you fuck him up at that point, you just don't have to worry about him. He'll be too awkward and confused to do anything for the rest of his life. That one moment will be all the stuff. He'll be caught up with therapy. He won't be able to go to those rallies and shit. His arts degree would just fail immediately because he'll lose all inspiration. Mostly because I'd be doing it in the art room. So, like, that becomes a horrible place for him. And then he'll, like, grow up to be a construction worker or something. And you know what? I just saved World War II without having to shoot a baby. All it took was another equally horrible crime.
So anyway, there was a Powerpuff Girls script that got leaked online.
Yeah, and this dialogue exchange we just had was basically the whole thing.
So...
uncomfortable and too much sex.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know much about the whole story that happened. I have the screenshots of the script that I want to go through. But do you know much about like the backstory for it?
I know that basically the idea is Powerpuff Girls was a famous show back in like the 80s and shit, in the early 2000s. Got rebooted. People didn't like it. And so the CW looked at it and thought, or whoever the company is that's making the movie looked at it and thought, the CW
it was
did
definitely
something.
the CW.
Oh, it probably was. They looked at what the CW did with Riverdale and thought, a lot of teenagers
you don't know the
like
highs
that.
and lows of high school football, poor kid.
Yeah, basically. And so what they decided to do was, let's do a gritty reboot of a show about 3-year-olds with superpowers. So they aged them all up, and it's terrible. Like,
So I says to him, you haven't known the triumphs and defeats, the epic highs and lows of high school football.
I don't know what that's from, but I know it's
It's
CW
from Riverdale.
thing. Was it? That's the thing.
That show that's based on the Archie comics.
You see, that's the thing, though, Alex. I wouldn't know because I have taste in shows.
Hey, I've never watched it. I've only seen people make fun of it.
Good point. I refuse to look at it because I love the Archie comics, because the Archie comics are the same comics where, like, one issue would be about, like, oh, Monica dumped me, I'm sad, and then there'll be a happy ending at the end of it. And the next issue is Archie versus the Predator. And it's just...
We've talked about this before, and yes, I will say this again. I love that, and I want more of it. I want that to be transferred to movies based on comics. Movies based on comics need to be as insane and crazy and full of crossovers as the comics that they are based on are.
You have no idea. I've told you about Judge Dredd before, right?
I believe so.
It's a comic that's basically about it's kind of satire, kind of like a talking piece or whatever you call it, about like commentary. It's a commentary about like police states, because the idea is like it's the future where like the whole of like America is just these giant mega cities, and like fucking in order to deal with crime and stuff, cops are basically told to be judge, jury, and executioner and shit. And it's just this like dystopian like cyberpunk city kind of thing. And the main character is this insanely like no nonsense, like cut above the rest of the cops kind of guy called Judge Dredd, who is so much of an embodiment of a police officer. He doesn't take off his helmet at all because like he doesn't really have a face underneath it. That's a weird thing. He does have a face, but like the idea is that like Judge Dredd isn't the guy. It's like the whole Batman thing, except he doesn't have an alter ego. Point is, though, Judge Dredd is an extremely violent and like gory comic, and I so badly want them to do a crossover with Archie.
Yes.
Because it's just this extremely hyper-violent, ultra-violent
Archie gets caught
shit.
jaywalking.
You've committed several crimes against Skyrim and her people. Like, that's the thing, though. Like, so all of the laws that are broken in Judge Dredd comics are always either, like, death or we cripple you for an hour. Like, they have a gun designed to just destroy the human nervous system. Because that's what you get for jaywalking.
That's the future Republicans want.
Like, there's so many...
Unironically, that is the future conservatives want.
Yeah. It's funny, too, because, like, Judge Dredd is a commentary on that, but it's also a comic book, so there's, like, weird shit that happens. Like, at one point, he fights ghosts.
So how many people would you say unironically, like, support Judge Dredd?
Too many. It's like...
Is it kind of like Watchmen, where it's like, this is a story about how this is the folly of man and superheroes are bad and authoritarian, and people are like, oh, fuck yeah, explosions.
I don't think it's as bad as Watchmen because Judge Dredd is such a ridiculous, like, caricature of, like, modern day stuff. Like, for example, like, there's a group of people called the Fatties, and what they are is these like extremely horrendously overweight people that get by in life by having people watch them eat grotesque amounts of food, and it's become like this religious culture to them.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's a commentary about, like, weird eating shows and stuff. You know, like mukbangs, which are basically the same exact thing. I mean, just look at Nikocado Avocado. He's essentially one of those things. And it's just this extremely, like, authoritarian universe. And there's, like, all these other weird things, like there's, like, psychics and shit in it. Because, again, it's a comic book, so it's not always just, like, you know, normal shit. Again, they fight ghosts from another dimension at one point. And it's like RoboCop, where it's satire, but, like, the hero is the propaganda guy. So, like, you're not supposed to take it seriously, but there's people that take it seriously.
So anyway, the Powerpuff Girls script got leaked.
Yeah, sorry. I want Judge Dredd to fight the Powerpuff Girls.
So I want to go through some of these screenshots with you.
Yes, let's go.
Of the leaked script. I'll play the part of Bubbles. You can be Buttercup.
All right, I can do that.
Blossom's fine. I saw on her Insta that she has a boyfriend. I saw on her LinkedIn that she got promoted. And I saw on Facebook that she still talks to Grandpa despite their political differences.
Coming back here is probably triggering for her.
Why? Because she's the one who killed Mojo? I mean, moveon.org.
The implications that one of them murdered the main villain, Mojo Jojo.
I also heard...
And it's just such a passing line to them.
I also heard that Mojo and Jojo are two separate characters in this version.
What? No, Mojo Jojo is the guy.
Mojo Jojo
He's the monkey
is
man.
I am well aware of that, but in this particular reboot / adaptation, whatever you want to call it, from what I remember hearing, it is two separate individuals. I think it's like a guy and a monkey. Anyway, next part of the script.
What? Sorry, I'm just so lost on that part. All right, next part. Bubbles. Oh no, wait. Bloss, wake up or we'll leak your nudes everywhere. Off Bubbles' confusion. That worked on you once. These are characters that the last time anyone saw them, they were 3 years old.
Yep. And I'll read the Bubbles line. Look, we loved being Powerpuff Girls, but sometimes we wanted to be other things too. Like in Dirty Dancing, Baby wanted to join the Peace Corps, but she also wanted to be a fancy slut, and her dad didn't get it.
Drake, emotional. Jerry Orbach was doing his best to understand.
Interior Powerpuff Girls home, hallway / Buttercup's room, day. Blossom heads upstairs where bumping sound continues from Buttercup's room, then abruptly stops. Blossom opens the door and finds Buttercup in bed with Macy, the woman she eyed at the bar the night before. They just, quotes, finished. And this is Blossom. Oh God, I'm sorry.
It's fine, to Macy. We're done, right? Macy, I'd say 6 times is enough.
And then Blossom says, "Aren't we here to investigate?" I think this is a different part
This is
of
a
the
different
script.
thing.
This is a different time and place.
I'm here to pick up bi-curious townies. You're here to avoid Drake. Bubbles is here to investigate. But she forgot Butch. I don't know why I don't know how to say Butch. Hates her. Luckily, we're dealing with another hate boner, so alcohol helps. These were 3-year-old children with superpowers.
Blossom, why do you know so much about hate boners?
Life is one big hate boner.
So anyway, yeah, it's the Powerpuff Girls, but they fuck.
It's the Powerpuff Girls, except they're all depressed teenagers, and one of them's an alcoholic.
Not even teenagers. Like it reads as like 20-somethings.
Oh, so they're all just doomers.
Basically.
The Powerpuff Girls, but they followed my life advice.
The Powerpuff Girls, but they inherited a fundamentally broken economy.
Oh my god. Damn.
So yeah, like, is that the way that people think young people talk? That is my question.
That's how old people think we talk. It's all about sex and hate boners.
Well, like when Bubbles says, I mean, moveon.org, no one has done that thing where it's like in like Dr. Evil, like www.sh.com. Like no one has done that unironically since 1998. No one has done that for the past 25 years. How old are these writers?
Too fucking old. You remember that Wendy's commercial? It's like the memer.
Oh God.
It's them. It's the CW.
It's using
the guys that took Archie and turned it into a weird murder mystery. When all you had to do was just have the predator
triumphs,
there.
the highs and lows of high school football. Person that had to drop out in the 4th grade because, you know, he was poor. You don't know what it's like to do extracurricular activities.
I just don't get why they did it like that.
I don't know.
It's so weird. You look at Riverdale, it's like, Archie, is that you? And it's like, it's like a thing monster now.
Yeah, I
like
want to know who wrote this, and I want to know who the target audience is. I want to know who this was written by and who it was written for.
Well, is it cute girls or cute boys?
What do you mean?
The target audience will most likely be 13-year-olds who are edgy and also horny and have no idea what to do with that.
I guess. I don't know. Like, it
like
seems
that's why Riverdale is a weird murder mystery and everyone is like inexplicably hot or handsome. It's gonna be the same thing with this one. It is for people who have no idea what's going on in their life right now because puberty has happened and it's a very bizarre time and they're all going to make some horrible, horrible mistakes, just like the CW.
Okay, so you know how like BoJack Horseman gets a little like depressing at times?
Yeah.
I feel like this show, if it is made, will be like that, but not on purpose. It won't be like an artistic direction or anything. It won't be like a commentary on like, you know, living in a society or whatever. It's just gonna be that bad.
There's gonna be such a dystopian slap to the face.
Like, this show feels like something that would play in BoJack Horseman.
Like, as a side joke too. It'd be like a passing comment joke. Like,
yeah, this feels like
hey,
a South Park or like a Family Guy cutaway.
No, it's definitely more like a BoJack Horseman joke because it's depressing to think about, and half of their jokes are just depressing to think about. That being said, I like BoJack Horseman. It's just a show that makes me feel weird inside.
Yeah. I watched a little bit of it like a couple of years ago. and it's pretty good. I never got that far into it.
Yeah, no, full
'Cause
disclosure, you're
I
not
don't like
supposed to
watching
like the
shows.
guy.
I don't like watching shows that make me sad.
Yeah, no, this show is gonna make you feel a lot of things. Especially
Yeah.
like the second to last episode. That one was really not okay. Like not okay, not like, oh, they show like a actual corpse on TV like Logan Paul. No, I mean like not okay as in like you're gonna watch it and you're gonna be like staring at the TV screen that's blank for an hour.
Yeah, it makes you think. But
Kind
anyway,
of stopped that. But yeah, next topic.
so I did want to talk about this story, Florida yearbook altered photos to cover more of high school girls' chests, but we're kind of running out of time. Maybe we'll get to that next week. It is an interesting story, but
Yeah.
I would like to allot a chunk of time to just rant about The Purge, because I watched The Purge a couple weeks ago now, and it left me feeling a lot of ways. Look, I will open by saying this. It is not a good movie. The first Purge, not the first Purge, which is the fourth movie, but the first Purge as in the first Purge movie that they made in the franchise called The Purge. Not to be confused with the TV series called The Purge, which is significantly better, and I will get to that. So, the Purge from 2013, the first, not the first Purge. You know what I'm saying. It is not a good movie. I'd say it doesn't know what it wants to be. It feels very not, it doesn't feel like it has any direction, at least to me. But the concept is, at first to me, it felt so mind-bendingly stupid that it felt like if you think about it for more than 2 seconds, it falls apart. So, of course, I watched a 45-minute lore video explaining all of the movies and, the Founding Fathers of America, or the new Founding Fathers of America, which is like the political party that took over in universe.
Oh, I thought they had like a new like Founding Fathers of America. Like they just replaced them.
No, it's a political party. It really feels like it's just like it feels like, like the Tea Party within the Republican Party. Like it feels kind of like that, but like they didn't want to say it's the Republicans, but they're the Republicans. But anyway, I watched lore videos explaining the intricacies of the Purge universe. And now I can't tell if it's incredibly stupid or if it's a brilliant commentary on capitalism and political parties in general, and money in politics, and the rich screwing over the poor, war profiteering, all of these things.
So,
and the conclusion that I've come to is that it's a brilliant premise if explained properly, which it is in later properties, like later movies and the show. But the first movie, which I will be talking mostly about in this rant, is so fundamentally broken in just the being a movie and also being a Purge movie. So first of all, if you're operating only with the knowledge presented to you in this movie, the premise does, of course, fall apart with 2 minutes of critical thought. Like, for instance, the premise completely depends on everyone really wanting to murder or even being capable of murder.
Yeah.
What feels like a better outlet for aggression? Murder or literally anything else?
Nah, murder, fam.
Like, there's meditation, there's just thinking about your feelings and dealing with them. Even if you want to resort to violence, MMA is legal year-round. You can... Okay, all of these people going out on Purge night, bro, you can go and you can get into MMA whenever you want. And you don't have to worry about someone taking revenge on you the next year.
I want that Purge story.
Another thing that I didn't like about the premise initially, which again, it did get explained later on, along with the first part that I did, of course, just mention it. It's explained away a little bit. I do still stand by what I said about how it relies on people wanting or being capable of murder. But this next point, it is explained in later movies, but basically my thought process was, wouldn't militias form as sort of a law enforcement, not really enforcing laws, but more effectively being a lynch mob?
Yeah.
You know, like, you'd think in this lawless state you'd have like the Klan or like neo-Nazis forming these mobs that are like, hey, you know, we're gonna make sure the streets are clean tonight. Okay, we don't want to, but really they're just kind of trying to kill people they don't like.
Yeah.
That actually does happen in later movies. It's explained that the government actually sends out like death squads, and they of course like hire neo-Nazis and Klansmen to take, you know, non-contributing members out of society, basically, because that is the point of the purge, to like basically kill the poor and the homeless, people that are a tax burden.
Yeah.
None of this is explained in the first movie. Like, there's like lip service paid to it in the first movie, but it's not really explored. And this is all going to come to a point that I will get to after I lay out these other arguments. Any restrictions during the purge depend entirely on the honor system. So when the purge happens, when it's like, you know, this is the commencement of the whatever annual purge, it lays out some basic ground rules. Basically, weapons of class 4, I believe, or lower are permitted, which isn't really defined. It's generally understood that you aren't allowed to use like explosives or chemical weapons, or you know, you can't release like a dangerous virus in the middle of the purge. Like that's off limits, and you can't use like nuclear weapons if you could somehow get your hands on those.
I feel like that just like weakens it. You should totally let them do that shit. I want to see that Purge movie. Some guy steals the fucking like Fort Knox arsenal.
And the other restriction is you're not allowed to purge politicians of, I think, like level 10 or higher, which of course again is not actually defined. It's generally understood you're not supposed to like kill people like high up in, yeah, you're not supposed to like kill people that are like high up in the White House. And I think senators might also be covered under this, because of course, you know, the people making the law don't want to be affected by the law.
Yeah.
But yeah, all of those restrictions rely entirely on people just acting honestly in a period of lawlessness.
Gee, I wonder how it all went bad.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna kill my neighbor, of course. I'm gonna go out and potentially kill children, because that's also allowed. But of course, I won't do anything that's not allowed.
Yeah.
This is another critique that I have with the concept, at least as it applies to the first movie, The Purge. Not the first Purge, but the first one that, you know. The premise would be a lot better if it would focus more on like vandalism, and if murder was rare during the purge, because of course people generally don't want to murder, I believe. So I'll give like a quick summary of the first purge, not the first purge, but the first one that, you know, the Purge 2013
movie. Yeah.
So it's basically this like rich family in the suburbs, and they, you know, are like planning to just lock down during the purge like all of their neighbors. And then there's this homeless black veteran out on the streets, and this one kid in the family, Charlie, lets him in because of course he's being like hunted down, and they bring him inside, and there's this like mob after him of these like young Republican looking ass people, and they're like, bring us the homeless swine or else we'll kill all of you. And it's like, yeah, this is gonna happen. Like, people are gonna be out murdering, so people are gonna get murdered. This isn't a surprise. But I feel like if a similar set of events happened but murder wasn't already on the table, that would add more drama to it. Because like, you know, if a family expects to be murdered and then there's potential of them getting murdered, it's like, yeah, yeah, shit happens. But if the family expects just to get like TP'd, or like they expect like minor like vandalism, but then the violence escalates, then that adds a lot more drama to it, and it makes it more compelling of a story, I think, at least.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong.
But with that, here is a section that I have titled Actual Substantive Criticism. So this is more about the movie itself, The Purge, not the first Purge, but the first one that,
Yeah.
First of all, there's a lot of wasted potential with The Purge. I just feel like if they committed to a theme, a message, and a villain, then this could have been a masterpiece. Because, of course, it doesn't really feel like the movie's saying anything outside of, wouldn't it be bad if crime was legal? And the villain changes midway through the movie, actually. Before I go any further, have you seen the movie The Purge?
A long time ago.
Okay, so you know how there's the rich people, like the young Republican looking people, and they want to hunt
they
down
got
the homeless
the
guy.
Masks on, and they're trying to kill the homeless guy, and then they let them in. And then it's at that point I forgot about everything until like the very end.
Yeah, so they are the villains for the bulk of the movie, and then they corner the family. They kill the dad and the family, and they corner the rest of them. And then the neighbors come in and they kill the rest of these people. And it's like, oh my God, thank you so much for saving us. And it's like, oh, well, don't thank us so much, because we actually wanted to come and kill you instead of them. Yeah. And then the homeless guy shows up again, who gets fleshed out way more in the sequels, I have found out since. But anyway, he kills one of the neighbors, and the rest of them are like kind of held at gunpoint at the kitchen table until the purge is over. And the wife is like, get the fuck out of my house. I will see you tomorrow.
Okay, I love that part though.
Yeah. And then the homeless guy, the guy that, saved their lives, just kind of leaves, and the wife is like, hey, good luck out there. That's all that you that's the end of his journey as far as the first movie goes. Of course, he does end up joining the like anti-purge, anti-New Founding Fathers movement in later installments.
Wait, there's like an anti-purge movement going on also?
Yeah. Like I said, there's a lot that's done with this premise that fleshes it out and makes it so much better, and actually does make it a critique of something, as opposed to just, wouldn't it be bad if crime was legal? This movie does none of that. It doesn't commit to a message. It doesn't commit to a theme. It barely commits to a villain. So at first it's like, oh, these racist people are the villains. And then it's like, oh, actually it's the neighbors that are villains. I felt like that was just lazy writing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. In the movie The Purge, the one kid, Charlie, that lets the homeless guy in, he is like, I don't like this. This is like stupid, doing the purge. And the dad is like, well, it's a way of people to release aggression. He gives like the standard BS talking points for it that are used to justify it in universe. And when I was watching the movie, I really wanted it to lean more into like a class commentary direction, where it's like kind of addressing like the differences between the upper and lower classes, where it's like the upper class kind of doesn't see the lower class as people. And I thought it would have been interesting if the dad was like, well, and oh, by the way, the son is like, well, why don't you and mom go out and purge? And he's like, oh, we just don't feel the need. I felt it would have been more interesting if the dad was like, well, you see, we are more like civilized than some of the poorer, less fortunate individuals out there. I felt like that would have added additional layers to the story, especially when Charlie sees the homeless man outside and lets him in, because he's doing that despite the sort of indoctrination or the messaging that's been drilled into him about like the poor and the homeless being like inherently violent people. Because there is a lot of that, like when it comes to like economic class, it's like, oh, the poor people do this or do that. It's like, Well, they're people. They're just people. But also, another critique of the movie, it feels like it can't decide whether it wants us to like the family or not, because a large part of the conflict in the story is that the racist mob outside of the young Republicans, they want the homeless man to be brought outside so they can kill him, and the family's like, well, the dad's like, well, I guess we'll give him to him. We gotta hunt him down inside the house and find him and bring him to the mob outside, or else they'll kill us. So it feels like at that point we're not supposed to necessarily like or root for the family, but the story does follow them. So they are the protagonists, but they aren't doing like heroic actions, if that makes sense. They're not acting like protagonists. But then partway through, it's like, oh, well, as they're tying the guy up and they're like torturing him and they're going to let him outside to be killed, it's like, well, maybe this isn't right. And then the dad's like, all right, so we should fight off the mob outside. And then at that point, it's like, oh, they are like heroic. They are good people. It's like, well, hold on. They were going to kill this man. They were totally on board to just let this guy die. So it's like not so fast there. Also, there's this subplot. I wouldn't even call it a subplot. It's more just a story beat that has nothing to do with the rest of the plot. There's this guy in the story named Henry. He is the daughter's boyfriend, and there's like a weird age difference. It's never like concretely said what the difference is in age, but I guess he's like maybe in his like early 20s and she's like 17 or something. And the dad doesn't like that. And so he's like, I'm going to kill your father. And she's like, no, don't do that. And then he tries to kill him. And then the dad shoots him. And at that point, that's when the homeless man like gets away and he's able to hide. So like, I understand that's why they put it there, but it didn't add anything to the story. It just kind of distracted from what was going on.
Yeah.
Speaking of stuff that doesn't add to the plot, the neighbor showing up out of nowhere adds nothing to the plot, the conflict, or characterization. It also proves that the young Republicans, like the mob that's outside, are not that much of a threat. Because these people with just like handguns come in and wipe the floor with them. They squad wipe them. And it's like in like 3 seconds. And it's like, well, why didn't they do that earlier? Why didn't the family do that earlier? They have a whole arsenal of better guns.
Because they're the good guys. That's it.
I guess.
It's like Batman, why he doesn't use guns. It's because he's a good guy.
I guess. Anyway, like I was saying earlier, though, about the family not being a likable set of protagonists, I felt that it would have been so much better if the movie focused more on the homeless veteran who doesn't even get named in the story, but his name is Dante Bishop. If the story followed Dante, I feel like it would have had the potential to be on the level of like Get Out, being a commentary about like rich people ultimately not caring about poor people.
Yeah.
Because they could have set up the plot in such a way that the racist like young Republicans, who in the movie are very weak narratively, like they're weak characters. They're not like they're just one dimensional. Like they want to kill him because he's homeless, and that's the extent of who they are. But I felt like that could have worked if they had redone the story to follow Dante Bishop, and they could have been like the bad rich people to contrast with the good rich people, aka the family, that end up betraying Dante anyway. So it could have been like, oh, even if the rich people say that they care about regular people, they ultimately are just looking out for themselves. And it would, with the family also being sort of antagonistic, it would also kind of like, it would offset how bad of antagonists the young Republicans are, because they don't feel like people. Like one, I guess, nitpick about their whole deal is like they wait outside for like a number of hours for them to bring this homeless guy out, And it's like, do they really not have anything better to do on Purge night than to wait for this one homeless guy to be brought to them?
You don't understand. This one guy. They picked him.
I guess.
That was their pick of the week.
But yeah, so Dante, in the end, he gets so shafted because he's more of an object in the story. He's more of a plot device than a character.
Yeah.
Where, like, it would have been so much better if he was the protagonist, but instead, in the movie that we got, he was just an object that the bad guys wanted and the good guys ended up deciding to protect. And then he came back later to sort of, like, you know, like, save them in the end. But he wasn't a character. He wasn't a person. He barely had lines.
Yeah.
He gets so shafted, especially at the end of the story when he just walks off and the mom's like, well, good luck out there. I won't, you know, let you stay here for a little bit or anything. I won't, you know, let you take a shower because, you know, you're covered in blood. But anyway, I guess to conclude my thoughts on the Purge 2013, the first, not the first Purge, but, you know, there seems to be, at the end of the day, there seems to be no real message outside of, man, it sure would be bad if crime was legal. Like, it doesn't really feel like it feels like propaganda for something. Like, it feels like it's vaguely like pro-state propaganda. But it's like, do we really need a movie to have a message that just boils down to we live in a society? Anyway, that's my thoughts on The Purge 2013. If you want to watch something set in The Purge, but you don't want to watch this bad movie, I suggest, and this is my first recommendation of the week, unofficial, whatever. This is my first recommendation of the week. The Purge, the TV series on Hulu. There's 2 seasons of it so far. I have seen the first episode so far, and it's pretty good. There's a lot more that's done with it. And by the way, one critique that I have of the movie, it doesn't feel like it needs to be set in the Purge universe. It doesn't feel like it is a narrative that necessarily has to be set in the Purge universe where crime is legal for one night. The series absolutely does so much with it. It does, of course, fit perfectly into this universe. And there's a cult that forms around the Purge. There you see like what the rich people do, like the really rich people, not like the suburban rich, like hunting the homeless for sport rich. And there's so much interesting stuff that they do with it. And I totally recommend the series, not the movie.
All right.
So anyway, you want to get into recommendations of the week?
Yeah.
First recommendation that I have is Knockout City. It is a game that just released. It's on Steam. It's on everywhere. It's the way that I describe it is like a team shooter, but instead of using guns, it's dodgeball. And I played the beta for it a few months ago, and I have the game now that it's officially released, and it is so much fun. I love it so much. I'll have a link to the Steam store page in the description. Go check it out. Check out the trailers, the screenshots. If it looks like something that's your thing, I totally recommend it. For $20, I'd say it's definitely worth the price. Next recommendation, what do I have? Bo Burnham's new special Inside just came out on Netflix yesterday. Well, as of the day of recording this. So if you are unfamiliar with Bo Burnham, he's a comedian. He does, he's a musician, and he kind of, blends that, not like in a Weird Al way, like music parodies, but more like he uses comedy along with music to make jokes and, do cultural critiques. His new special Inside, named after the location it was filmed at, is it's like a solo thing that he worked on it for over a year during quarantine, and he filmed it all in his house. But it is like a perfect representation of what an at-home show could be, because every when it's like, oh, dancing with the stars, but at home, like the at-home editions of so many shows were just like recording people over Zoom, and it's not like produced very well. Bo Burnham takes like stage show level production value, and he just does it at home, and it's brilliant. it makes you feel ways about life and capitalism and just existence.
Because Bo Burnham is Chad.
He is a Chad. And it's the kind of thing where once you're done watching it, you just have to sit for a minute and think. And I completely recommend it. It's on Netflix. Go check it out. It's amazing. My final recommendation is a song. I'm going to be honest, I have no idea how to pronounce it.
Prisencolinensinainciusol.
Sure, yeah, that. It is a song by an Italian musician who does not speak English, but he wrote a song that sounds like how English sounds to non-English speakers. It is so good. The lyrics are complete gibberish, but it is such a bop. I will have the Spotify link in the description, along with the spelling of the word.
I don't know what show it was, but there was a cowboy show where they used it in there, and it was really cool. It was like a card shark show or something. Because it's like they're in like the old west kind of attire and stuff, and they go in and they got like the music playing, and then it's like, yeah, we're gonna gamble, fuckers.
So do you want to do your recommendation and then we'll close it out?
My recommendation of the week, as I am falling asleep, is my favorite show from my childhood, The Iron Giant. Yeah. You should watch The Iron Giant, y'all. It's fucking lit. It's good shit.
Awesome. And we didn't do like an official like movie pick of the week or whatever. You want to talk about it next week? I'll watch it. You can watch it if you want. I know you know the movie front to back.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we can do that one.
I'll watch it when we'll talk about it next week. What is it on? Anything? Is it on Netflix?
God, shit, I don't know anymore. Like, I know it used to be on Netflix. You might have to look it up on YouTube or something. Check to see if you can find it on any of your streaming services that you are subscribed to.
Okay, so The Iron Giant is not available in America. Is it on Hulu?
Did you just say it's not available in America?
Yeah. Well, you know how stuff on Netflix is like sometimes region locked. So yeah, if you have a VPN, it's on Netflix, or it looks like it's on Hulu. It's not with like a premium subscription or anything. It's just if you have Hulu, then you have Iron Giant. So watch it, and then we'll discuss it next week. Also, MODOK. MODOK is out, by the way. I forgot about that show completely. Yeah, it's stop motion. It has Patton Oswalt. I'm going to watch it. I am going to watch it, and if it's interesting enough, we can talk about it next week. But
let's do it.
Anyway, yeah, watch The Iron Giant, viewer, or else you will suffer the consequences.
I'll come to your house and shit in your pants.
And I think that's the show.
Hell yeah, we did it! I was mostly awake for it.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode of Bold of You to Say. If this is your first time here, first of all, thank you for checking us out. Check out some more of our episodes. If any of them interest you, download them and listen to them in that order. Of course, check out our merch. Our merch will be linked in the description. Check out Muscle Rock. Get yourself a Muscle Rock shirt, Muscle Rock button, Muscle Rock mask. Well, masks are still relevant. Share the show with a friend. Tweet out our clips. Our clips channel will be linked in the description. I'm working on getting some more out there. Get more eyes and ears on the show. Leave a comment if you're listening on YouTube or any platform that you can leave comments on. If you have any suggestions for stuff that you want us to talk about, or if you have any movie recommendations, or if you thought we were really right about something or really wrong about something, comment that, or you can tweet at us. Our Twitters will be linked down below. Yeah, follow us on social media, our Twitter, TikTok, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Follow me on TikTok, follow Jared on Twitter, friend him on Steam and or Xbox. Leave us a review on Podchaser. That's like an IMDb site for podcasts. That helps us out, I think. And, of course, subscribe so you don't miss next week's episode. Turn on notifications. Turn on automatic downloads. Have a good 9 a.m. through 9 p.m., our official business hours.
Well, yeah. I'm awake. What?
And good night, everyone.
I'll break into your house. I'll steal your cats.